What's going on, fam? Welcome back to another episode of METS. Obviously, I'm Ray, and that is my partner right there, Dan Bartels. Dan, I'm excited. We got the doubleheader tomorrow. I got to say one thing, though, bro. I was beyond pissed when I heard about the rain out today. I literally got up early, took my wife to breakfast, a whole nine I had to do to watch the damn game. And then I get the call that it's postponed. Anthony DeComo lays the news to us, but we have a lot of things to look forward to. And that's why I made the thumbnail that I did for you guys watching live and during the recording, the Mets going young. It's clear as day the movement that's happening right now, Dan. And that's the first topic that I want to get to. Shout out Luis Angel Acuna winning NL Rookie of the Month for the month of April. He's been well better than advertised. He's one of those guys, and I didn't think it was possible. And I'm not saying it. Obviously, he's a rookie. You're going to go have your ups and downs, but he played very poorly last year in the minors. But all he's done since he's been here is hit. So you got to give it to him. He's played a solid second base. He's stealing bases. He's that perfect bottom of the order firecracker who, when he gets on base, pitchers get worried. Pitchers leave fat pitches over the plate, and the guys at the bottom of the lineup have been able to eat thanks to him.
He's been unbelievable, Ray. He's been unbelievable. 7 stolen bases, batting .288. He has been the spark plug that we needed, and he plays great defense. This is what we're talking about time and time again, and he's showing why he's a big league player, and it's good to see. And I think we're at the point, not officially, but getting to the point where McNeil will no longer be playing second base. You know, this is Acuna's spot to run with it. Don't look around. Don't look back. Jeff McNeil, you've been designated to the outfield and maybe platoon second base on occasion, but Acuna's the real deal.
1,000%. And that's something we touched on this offseason where I almost feel like we're at a point, and maybe you guys in the chat disagree, and shout out to a lot of you guys. I see you checking in. I'll get to you in just a moment. I am just so excited to be back on the live chat. It's been a minute. We had a lot of life stuff going on. My wife and I are now having our second child, so things are all over the place. Some of you guys know that already. So these chats will be happening late, obviously, once my daughter goes down. But think about this, Dan, and maybe you're not there, but I'm right there where Acuna gets the Mark Vientos treatment. That is his position to lose. I don't want to see, all of a sudden McNeil takes over when players start getting healthy. McNeil, in my opinion, for what he's being paid, that $15 million a year, maybe he gives Jeff a blow. Maybe he gives Acuna a blow. Maybe he gives Brandon Nimmo a day off, or Juan Soto's going to play pretty much the whole year, but maybe he's that type of piece. And then late in games when you have maybe Francisco Alvarez, who's been struggling since coming back outside of that 2-run home run against Washington, maybe he comes up with bases loaded late in the game, and McNeil could be that piece off the bench potentially. I still think he could get a lot of at-bats, but let's be honest. McNeil's never been pushed the way that he's going to be pushed this season. This team is stacked. Even with Jose Siri going down, Tyrone Taylor, he is catching literally everything. He is the definition of a David Stearns dream. He was the first move that they made when he came over here as the new president of baseball operations, and you've seen why. The diving plays in left center. He just seems to get a lot of clutch hits. He's not going to hit for high average, but what does David Stearns always preach? Defense, defense, defense. And right now, the best situation for this team is Acuna at second, Lindor at short, and Tyrone Taylor in center field.
Yeah, I love it. It's similar with what the Yankees are dealing with. Not to go across town, but just for a quick segment here and quick reference, Trent Grisham. I mean, what has he been for the Yankees? Yes. He's been that defensive replacement who's hit way more than Tyrone Taylor, but definitely something to think about, how these guys have emerged who we didn't think would be the starting guys in center field, who have taken the role and done very well with it for our respective teams here in New York. So that's number one. Good for Tyrone Taylor. Acuna, 100%. You say Vientos treatment. I do have to push back just a little bit because we have talked about it. I don't know if Vientos is out of the woods yet, where we can say it's his position to really run with it. If we really want to be honest here, hitting.
Well, he had it last year. That's kind of where I'm focusing at. Like last year, once he started hitting, no one was taking that from him.
It's just the defense for me.
I agree 100%. And people, and Dan, let's be honest, people don't want to talk about it. They think, oh, you're being a negative Mets fan. Let's be honest. If anything, his defense looks like it's kind of regressed since last year. Not saying it has, but how many times is he, and it's not his throwing. He's limited laterally, which is okay because he's a big guy. That's kind of expected, but it always feels like in the critical situations, his mind gets sped up and he's thinking, I got to get the ball out. So before he does that, he picks his head up as the ball's coming, he fumbles it. Or he goes to field it as he's taking the ball out, he drops it, or a ground ball hits him in the chest, or as we saw just recently, he gets a ground ball, hits him right in the palm of his glove. Any normal third baseman is making that play 99 out of 100 times. And I love Mark Vientos, but this is the reason why. You and I even spoke about it, and we both agreed. You give him the shot at third base, you see if he could progress, a la, look what Francisco Alvarez right now is doing defensively. For all you people who are just casual Mets fans, which is totally fine, Francisco Alvarez coming up was known to have a massive bat, but couldn't block a ball if his life depended on it, and couldn't throw a runner out. He was literally supposed to be Travis d'Arnaud, and if you all don't remember that, he couldn't reach second base on the throw, and it turns out Alvarez has been the exact opposite. Same with Luis Torrens. We have one of the best throwout rates in all of baseball, and Dan, there's no way you could have seen that coming into this season, and I definitely didn't see it coming into this season. But Mark Vientos, now you're starting to see why that designated hitter talk was so loud this past offseason. And I would love to get your opinion and the people in the chat's opinion. Is Mark Vientos' defense being poor affecting him at the plate? We've seen it time and time again with other players. Let me know your thoughts.
It could be. It definitely could be. I wouldn't rule that out. And we do gloss over it as fans. We do it naturally. Like the fourth inning the other night, one of the best defensive innings probably in Mets history. And that ball that Vientos ranging to his left, it hits off his glove perfectly to Lindor, who throws it over to Pete for the out. Let's be honest. If Lindor is not in the perfect position on that play, that's an error on Vientos, and we're looking at it a lot differently. So I just try to caution people with things are working out in the Mets' favor. They're winning games. Everything is good. You can't really complain, and this goes across the board. But there are things that you can poke at. But until the Mets are not first place in the division, we won't do much poking here, Ray. We'll just be celebrating. I
want to get to some of the comments really quick, and then I have one other point I want to make. Obviously, you guys seen the title of the thumbnail, and there is one player. And if you were listening on the X space to Dan, what Dan and I were just talking about previously, one player that we spoke about who is knocking on the door, who, in my opinion, should be called up any day now. But we got this from Brennan. Brennan, shout out to you. Thanks, brother. Yo, what's going on? Goomba, finally, a live chat. Where you all been, bro? Life's been happening. And you know what happens? For me, I could do these at night almost all the time. But the issue is the Mets have had so many 4 o'clock games or 1 o'clock games and been working a lot during the week. Work's been picking up. Everything's been great.
Let's go Knicks too, by the way. We've been busy with the Knicks, right? Come on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Dan's been busy with the Knicks, and let's go sell.
You're waiting for the NBA draft, the lottery.
Yeah, I am. The lottery. The lottery's coming up. Come on, Nets. All right. Facts, hate doubleheader, hard to win both. Good to see you. You guys want to know a little quick story. And Brandon, I see your comment there. It's exactly what I'm about to get to. One of my first ever games, my wife told me a while ago, oh, yeah, I'm a baseball fan. For all you guys who don't know, my wife was an All-American softball player in college. She did the whole ESPN thing. You name it. She was on it. She told me she's a big Mets fan. So what do? I said, hey, honey, let's go to our first Mets game. It's a doubleheader. Let's just
Two
say
for the
I
price of
needed
one.
to do a little, a little apologizing because she wanted to leave early. We got Tim always checking in. Tim, how's it going? With Blade Tidwell making his MLB debut with the Mets, will Drew Gilbert be next? And you know what? You, Brandon, everybody else, it was the thing I had preloaded. Let's take a shot. I've been calling for this guy for 2 years. Unfortunately, Dan, last year he was hurt, but let's break down these MILB stats from Drew Gilbert. Down in the minors, 64 at bats, 13 runs scored, 3 homers, 12 RBIs. He's hitting a massive 313 with a 963 OPS. Oh, and one other thing, Dan, that we could touch on really quick. What does Drew Gilbert do that David Stearns loves? He plays defense and has an absolute cannon from center field. And I think he is knocking on the door. He should have been Jose Siri's replacement, in my opinion. But give me your thoughts on Drew Gilbert before we progress with what I want to get to next.
I'm happy we can finally talk about this too, Ray, because remember early in the offseason when we were saying, the Mets have 2 right-handed bats in center field. That's weird.
Yeah.
And you're wondering who's the left-handed bat that could play center field. It's not Brandon Nimmo. He's too old. It has to be Drew Gilbert. And I think we're at that point where it's going to be very soon. He's earned the right to do it. Yes, he profiles as a corner outfield guy later in his career, similar to Brandon Nimmo. It's going to be a similar... The Mets are smart, right? They know what they're doing. They saw the career Brandon Nimmo had.
Yep.
And they want that same career for Drew Gilbert. And I wrote about it very early, a couple months ago, about Gilbert. He is going to be a Met for a long time. And it reminds you of Michael Conforto. Just don't let this one get away.
Yeah, and you know what? If we're breaking down the prospects, how highly rated they were, look, I understand Brandon Nimmo was a very high first-round pick, but he was out of high school. Gilbert's a little bit older now. I feel Gilbert profiles a little better defensively than Nimmo only because of the arm. He's also smaller, doesn't have, let's be honest, Nimmo didn't develop pop until the last couple of years. Gilbert has a little bit of pop, but I feel like he might be like Acuna when he gets up here. More of a gap-to-gap hitter, steal a bag here or there. He definitely does not have the eye that Brandon Nimmo has. Brandon Nimmo, that was his that's why I'm so high on Jet Williams, because Jet Williams, I see so many traits that Brandon Nimmo had, except Jet Williams has a little bit better of an arm and a lot more speed, but that patience at the plate. And for anybody who wants a quick profile, who's not a big minors type guy in regard to our New York Mets, Drew Gilbert, what is the first thing you hear when you listen to scouts? And we just had Ernest Dove on the program a couple weeks ago. I'll be sure to try to link that video in the comments after we're done here today. If you want to get a full breakdown on the New York Mets prospects, he's going over some guys that are throwing crazy innings, some guys like AJ Ewing, who you might not know about, who just got promoted by the New York Mets, another high-end prospect coming through the system. But Drew Gilbert profiles as that rah-rah, that leader. One of the first scouts said that I spoke to a scout from Houston when we first got him. He said, don't be surprised if he's turning 29, 30 years old and fans are screaming that he should be the captain of your team. He's that kind of player. He puts it all on the line. He's like Tyron Taylor in the outfield, willing to sacrifice his body, do whatever it takes to win. But sometimes I was told, and remember, he was 23 at the time, it could also eat him alive a little bit, where he needs to learn to tame that excitement and that energy, because he tends to beat himself up too much when he fails. And let's be honest, baseball, you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. So, but that's the profile with Drew Gilbert. Gap to gap kind of guy, will hit an occasional home run. But what is he, Dan? 5'8", 5'9", maybe?
Yeah.
Small guy, but I'm excited about him, man. I mean, they got the youth that's coming through this farm system right now, and a lot of people are knocking on the door. It's just an exciting time.
Right. And, teammates in college with Tidwell too. I mean, there's a lot of positives that come with a guy like Gilbert. There's a lot of positives that come with a lot of these Mets that are coming up. Like, I don't know what the future holds. I really don't. I hope it's great. I hope we win a lot of championships, but you got to start with the young players. And that's always something people forget, Ray. They don't want to hear it. That's the last thing they want to hear. Oh, we just got Juan Soto, but you're going to tell me Drew Gilbert's going to make a difference for this team?
Right.
It's a tough sell, but you guys have to be in the same mindset. It's going to be worth it.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, I know a lot of people. It's fun to look to the off season, Dan. It always is. Believe it or not, fans are way more engaged in the off season than during the regular season. And I just know that purely from our numbers that we get. We might have 500,000 people tonight, and in the off season, you got 10,000 people coming through. But it's about this team, and if you want to have sustainability, and I want to preach this, something that we just spoke about in our space, Dan, the CBA is up very soon, and it's going to change the way baseball is played today. Take it to the bank. MLB owners like the Pirates, the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Rockies, all the Tampa Bay Rays, the Orioles, they are sick and tired of the top teams being able to take advantage of the way salaries are with this, with the deferrals, with the penalties not being high enough. They're pushing for astronomical penalties, certain percentages of deferrals per contract. It's going to change the way baseball is. And I think that's a big reason why Juan Soto got that $75 million signing bonus. So he's making $122 million in cash this year, because the Mets are saying, well, when the new CBA kicks in, we wouldn't have to worry about it because Juan Soto's only making $42 million a year instead of $51 million a year. But things are going to change. So it's going to show how important it is to have an elite farm system, have an elite GM, and elite players at baseball operations, which the Mets are. You guys are going to see how great David Stearns is very shortly, because a lot of these prospects coming through, believe it or not, Dan, are not even really his, but he's taken them to a new level. We didn't hear about Brandon Sproat before last year, even though he was a second-round pick. Yeah, we knew he threw hard. We didn't know he was coming through. But that's why when I hear Met fans talking about Kyle Tucker, give me a break. The Mets are going to try to fill a lot of these positions in-house and then supplement. I don't see the Mets having 3 guys on 10-plus year contracts, getting Tucker and re-signing Alonso, who's currently on the pace to be a National League MVP.
Yeah,
There's a lot to think about there, but I'm focused on this team, and Drew Gilbert could honestly impact this team shortly. You might have 2 guys in their early 20s at the bottom of this lineup very shortly, Dan, who are both firecracker type players between Gilbert and Acuna. And I seen somebody say, well, Jose Siri, him getting hurt could be beneficial for this team. I don't want to look at it at that way, because Siri did provide some things on this team that we can't get. His speed, his defense, the arm he has in center field. But yes, we all knew that he was not going to hit nearly as much as these guys do. But it's about the ceiling, about injecting youth into this veteran team. Think about it. If Gilbert sticks, you have Soto, you have Acuna, you have Gilbert, you have Vientos, you have Alvarez. All these guys are in their mid to low 20s. You are set for so long. And then you say, you know what? Maybe this is the offseason, or maybe this is the trade deadline. The New York Mets finally make the move and go all in on a big-time pitcher and make the run at the World Series. Last year, we did things that we weren't expected to do. I think you would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. And the Mets are going to have to make some decisions that they're not comfortable with. It's going to be a trade. Well, I don't know how many times we have to talk about it until it ends up happening. And let's be honest, we're in May now. It could happen at any moment. I'm thinking around June, but it could happen in the end of May. A big trade is coming for the Mets. You just do the basic math. You guys know I love to do my potential Mets lineups, right? And I did a second half one just for fun and tweeted out there. And it gets to a really tough position because you have Mauricio back in the fold eventually. You have Acuna on the team now, and he's not going anywhere. I didn't even include Brett Beatty. And the Mets have a problem because there's a lot of outfielders still here. Jeff McNeil's playing the outfield. What is he going to do? I mean, I like him at second base. I like Acuna more in the outfield. I'm still waiting to see that happen. But even then, you have Taylor, you have Marte, you have Winker. There's only so much room on this team, and it's going to be a tough trade. It's going to be a prospect involved. It might be a Jonah Tong. It might be a Nolan McLean. It might be a Jet Williams. But at the end of the day, that's what the Mets need right now because there is such a log jam. And these answers, these questions that we're having, they don't have answers to them because we don't know. Drew Gilbert could be traded tomorrow, Ray, if you want the truth. I mean, who knows?
True. Remember, he was the number one prospect in the Houston Astros farm system when we got him. So I'm sure a lot of people didn't think that. Somebody just commented Winker. I think for some reason the Mets like Winker. They like him in the clubhouse. And I seen somebody say, well, we're not going to move on from McNeil. I'm not so sure about that. But also, let's be honest. What are the odds this team stays fully healthy the rest of the season? You know what I mean? Siri's gone for a really long period of time. And when we're looking at the rest of the team, who could really take over and provide offense out, in the outfield spots? They're not moving Nimmo back to center field. And also this too. I know you brought up the fact that you want to see Acuna in the outfield. I think Carlos Mendoza made it so apparent the Mets' plans for this season, at least this full season, Acuna is never seeing the outfield. Because remember what they said? Well, we're going to, our intention is to keep Acuna on the dirt. Jet Williams is now getting reps in center field. Drew Gilbert is playing center field. I think the writing is on the wall. They like Acuna in the infield, up the middle, and it improves the infield defense. Let's be honest. Alonso is an okay first baseman, an elite scooper, but he does have his flaws. There's no doubt about that. And obviously, Vientos has been struggling mightily, in my opinion, over at third base. So how can you help that? Have a very strong up the middle. And in my opinion, Acuna is light years better than McNeil in the infield just because of his range. He's going to get to balls in the hole that other players are not going to. So if Vientos makes a crazy throw to second base, Acuna's got the athleticism to get off the bag, snag the ball, and still make the play to first base, where I'm not sure if McNeil still has that ability. I'm not saying he can't, but I've been saying this for 2 years now, and I'm waiting for it to happen, and maybe we're finally starting to see it, because let's be honest, Dan. We got to call a spade here. We're honest with you guys. We're honest with you guys in the chat. McNeil is not a center fielder. There was a ball that was hit yesterday that was clearly an out. Tyron Taylor gets to it backpedaling, and it drops for a double. And that's not McNeil's fault. He's playing a position that he hasn't played in forever. He was probably in high school the last time he touched center field. He's not a center fielder.
I think 23 he had 2 starts, but you're 100% right. Yeah,
right. There's no natural thing there when it comes. He'll make the routine play, but some of those little bit of difficult plays, I wonder. And also, let's be honest, his arm is probably worse than Brandon Nimmo's in left field. You can't go. For a guy who like David Stearns, who believes in defense so much, I find it very hard to believe you're going to have a light hitting, next to no range, with no arm center fielder. But I say light hitting where McNeil doesn't have crazy power. We know what he's done in the past, but it's been 3 years. It's not like he hit 300 last year or 300 the year before that. It's been a while since he's been successful. I'm not saying he can't be, but him being a lock, I think what they're hoping is he can give Soto a day off. He can give Nimmo a day off. He'll play against some tough right-handers. Maybe he'll spell Acuna here or there, or maybe against a tough right-hander, He'll play at third base in lieu of Mark Vientos, and he'll finally be the Ben Zobrist type that I've been calling for 2 years now.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure because when you have Mauricio back in the mix, if every Mets fan, I ran a poll to confirm it, and it was like 75% still say, who is the long-term answer at third base? It's Mark Vientos. All right, so I'll meet you on that. He is the answer there. Mauricio's back. He puts pressure on Acuna because let's be honest, I'd rather have Mauricio at second base than Acuna. But then you move Acuna to center field, that's fine. I could meet you there too. But until then, Ray, I don't really know. This is why the Mauricio thing is so fascinating. I don't want to trade this guy, and there's a lot of people that just are in that boat, which I understand. If you want to trade him, that's your prerogative.
Right.
But if you have him on this team, someone's out of the picture, and I think it's Acuna or Vientos, one or the other.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of Mets fans, before I bring up my next point, another prospect who I'm locked into right now, and another one that's throwing hard as hell that we talked about earlier. But last year we spoke a lot about potentially Acuna being on the block, being that chip that other teams would be involved with. Now that he's hitting consistently at the major league level, playing elite level, I think it's fair to say he's playing elite level defense. There's not many. If you go around the league and look at second basemen, he might have the best range out of all of them. He is, because he's so quick. You know, if you're able to steal 70 bags in AA and AAA, obviously you're going to have that range. But is he officially off the block for you? Or if the Miami Marlins come calling and say, we'll take a lesser package if Acuna is involved, maybe one big time, maybe we're talking a Jonah Tung and a Luis Angel Acuna, and that might be it to get it done for a guy like, Alcantara. What are your thoughts? Do you think the Mets answer the phone, or are they like, no, you know what? He's 22 years old. He's going to be our second baseman for the next decade and a half.
I don't think anyone's ever off the block, Ray. I truthfully believe that. Even a Brandon Sproat, as crazy as it sounds, but I think that's the one guy. The one guy. I'll meet you there and say 100%. I could see him being off the block. Every other player, they're all tradable. Every single one of them. And Acuna would be a really big piece for the Mets that would stink to trade him. I could see the reason in doing it, but I wouldn't want to do that. I'd rather trade McNeil. If we're not even talking prospects and just talking strictly trades, because you look up at McNeil's stats, and we were talking about it in the spaces, what was the number one thing that we were waiting to see from Jeff McNeil? If we wanted to trade him, he has to start hitting. He has a 900 OPS. He has hit very well. Now, I don't know, gun to Mets fans' heads, if you believe in Jeff McNeil, you're going to believe in Jeff McNeil, and you don't want to trade him. This guy won a batting title. But Acuna has shown you things that McNeil's never shown you, like you're talking about, the defense, the range, the explosiveness. It's such a tricky thing, Ray. I really don't know.
Yeah, and age is on his side.
Yeah.
Acuna, obviously. Shout out to you, Buzz. What's going on, brother? Hope all is well. It's been a minute, brother. He says McNeil has no business in center field. I was hoping McNeil would have been traded after 2022.
I get it.
Kevin says you can't trade McNeil, zero market. Kevin, I disagree with you on that. I think he does have a market. You may not like it as a Mets fan, or I don't want to say he doesn't have any market. He has a market. It may not be the market you want it to be. But if he starts hitting, that could change. But that's the thing too, Dan. It's a catch-22, as we like to say. If he starts hitting, no Met fan's going to want to trade him. If McNeil has an 830 OPS and we're in June, nobody's going to want to trade him. But the issue is, and it's a great issue to have, this is where you rely on, I don't even want to say Mendoza, but this is a David Stearns type issue. He's got to make these tough decisions. We have so much talent coming up, and that's what leads me to my next prospect that I'm locked in on. Can you take a guess who this is right here at AA? Anybody?
I don't know. I'll leave it up to the the lucky fans at
This
home.
is
I don't know.
my favorite
Joe
prospect,
Williams,
Jet
yeah.
Williams, in
Saw that
playing
on base.
center
So I was
field
like,
in
hold on.
Double-A. 887 OPS, 303 average. He's got a couple home runs and 76 at bats, 6 stolen bases, 2 home runs. Another guy that could steal bags. Look, this year he'll steal. If you do the math right there, he's at 40 plus stolen bases. He's another guy that's like that. But another Mets prospect who I know a lot of people were down on Williams. A lot of people were down on Drew Gilbert last year. They were hurt. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're grading guys, Dan, that had 50 at bats. But the good thing is these guys are lighting it up. They keep bringing their own level in the organization up. And we're not even talking about the pitchers yet. Let's talk about what some of the pitchers are doing. You want to talk about the gentleman that we talked about earlier before we open this?
Sure. Ramon Gomez. So for anyone who didn't see, the 19-year-old Venezuelan for St. Lucie threw a pitch.
Jeez.
Threw a pitch 104.5 miles an hour. It was the fastest pitch StatCast has tracked since Mason Miller's 103.7 mile an hour pitch for the Athletics or the A's. But think about that. I mean, holy crap, this guy throws smoke. So the Mets are in good hands. The development is in good hands. He's a couple ways away. Give it a year and a half. You still want to make sure you're taking the right
throw it for a strike and not kill someone.
Taking the right steps in the development. But that's crazy. So I just want to make a note of that. That was just some cool stuff there.
So we got this from Saint. Appreciate you checking in, brother. A lot of you guys are in the chat. Awesome seeing you guys. I know Facebook's been going nuts lately. Appreciate you guys over there. Loving that community. If you guys want to help support the channel, look us up on Instagram. Give us a follow over there at MetCastPod. And if you're enjoying this content, just give us a thumbs up. That's all we ask for. If McNeil gets hurt, Jet will force the issue. Kevin, I actually think it's going to be Drew Gilbert who's going to force the issue there. Dan, do you agree?
In terms of center field?
Yes.
Yes. In
terms of the
infield, I think Jet Williams still puts some pressure on whether Acuna would be a trade piece, things like that, McNeil's future at second base. I just don't like the idea of Jet Williams in center field. I'm sorry.
Which leads me to my next question.
Yeah.
This one's for you, Dan. I'll let you answer it first. Any concerns about Jet size in the outfield?
Yes. 5'7", 5'6".
I think he's closer to 5'5". That's what people that have told me they've been around him. They said might be smaller than Altuve. He's listed at he ain't no 5'8". Come on, MLB.
So I mean,
they're listed, and MLB.com's got him at 5'7", and he's 21. Maybe he's still growing.
Maybe I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't even mind seeing it for a game or two, but we're talking about this is a premier position in the big leagues. I want to make sure that the center fielder for the Mets is here for a long time, even 5-year periods. I'm fine with that, but I just don't know if Joe Williams is that guy for a 5-year period. Drew Gilbert, 1,000%. Luis Acuna.
Drew Gilbert's small too. He's what, 5'8", 5'9"?
Yeah,
he's got a cannon for an arm.
I like Gilbert more in the infield. Maybe that's just me.
Gilbert?
Williams, excuse me. Right. Williams more in the infield, Gilbert more for the outfield. And also too, did we ever forget Carson Bench? I mean, this guy for center field too, he could be an option. So it's a good problem to have, right?
You know what, and it's fine. Everybody's prospects are suspects no matter what. We've always noticed that. And I love talking prospects, as you guys could see here. This is like I'm in heaven right now, and I appreciate everybody who's in here right now. Actually, we're 500 people talking prospects. Get me all giddy in here. But I love Gilbert as a prospect. When Billy Epler, and look, I destroy Billy Epler, rightfully so. And people are like, well, look what he did. No, he was able to do what he did because Steve Cohen. Give Steve Cohen the credit here. Steve Cohen ate half of that Verlander contract, ate half of Max Scherzer's contract. And for everybody who doesn't know already, this year, Justin Verlander was set to make $35 million, but because he got hurt last year, he didn't make up enough innings. And Steve Cohen was was going to pay $17.5 million of that. That's a shout out to Steve. Anybody who doubts how much Steve Cohen wants to win, that right there has told you he cares about winning more than anything. And I love Gilbert, and believe it or not, I love Ryan Clifford as a prospect too. Ryan Clifford's probably a couple years away. If the Mets sign Pete Alonso long term, Ryan Clifford is an absolute lock to get traded, and he's going to be a big time piece that we might be able to flip for something else. I love Ryan Clifford. Lefty has the best raw power in our system, hands down. But Drew Gilbert, I think he's the future center fielder here. I think he'll be totally fine. If you guys go watch his film, he's diving all over the place. He gets good breaks on ball. I don't know why people don't project him as a center fielder. Maybe it's because of the size, but he's played center field everywhere he's gone. High school, college, in Houston, with us. He's been in center field. I haven't heard anything negative on him. He's not great out there, but if you guys want to see Drew Gilbert in action, SNY posted it. It was probably 2 weeks ago. We posted it as the short. So if you scroll through our shorts or look up our channel and look up Drew Gilbert, he threw a ball. It had to be 95 plus miles an hour from center field on an absolute line to home plate and threw one of these kids out. But before I get to some more of your questions, Dan, as we're talking prospects here, I have another prospect for you guys who is once again knocking on that major league door, and here he is. Any guesses? And yes, it's a pitcher.
McLean.
Absolutely. Nolan McLean, who used to be a hitter, 6'2", 214, 23. He'll be 24 prior to this season ending. So it's not like, oh, he needs seasoning. He needs some work in the minors. This year, 3-1 over 26 in the third innings, 30 strikeouts. That crazy whip right there of a 1.22. He's got an ERA, Dan, of 1.37 in Double-A. So I expect him to get the call eventually. Hopefully it's soon if they're going to end up moving him. But if you guys want to see some crazy highlights, and Dan, I'm sure you've seen them all. And we saw him in spring training. Throws 95 plus and has an absolute whiffle ball he throws up there.
Yeah, sweeper's disgusting. 22, 23 inches of break on that thing. It is absolutely nasty. It's a pitch he can throw consistently for strikes, which is good at the big league level. He has the fastball. He has all the tools. I wish he was still a two-way player. I thought that would be a cool part to his game, but we'll see. Mets will probably get their two-way player eventually. We'll see. That's every team is going to have one.
Shohei at 41.
Give it 5 years time. Well, that'd be unbelievable. Give it 5 years time. I think every team will have a two-way player just on the bench or whatever the case may be.
We drafted a couple, and Carson Bage, our first-round pick last year, was a two-way player, and he gave up pitching.
And real quick, too, because one of the points before was, there's no market for Jeff McNeil, and then you talked about how the Mets are willing to pay down salaries and stuff like that. I mean, they could pay down Jeff McNeil's salary, half of it if they had to. Same with Marte, stuff like that. So if the Mets identify, that's a big part of being a GM. If they identify, hey, McNeil is not clicking in the clubhouse, something's not working, we heard a little birdie that this guy needs to be out of here, he will be out of there. So we'll see.
He's been a clubhouse issue before. Maybe what's wild, and it's very sad when you see it. Pittsburgh Pirates fans, a very loyal fan base, chanting "sell the team" at opening day. Maybe they finally spend a little shekels because they're scared they're going to lose Paul Skeens down the line, which is, I seen this chat from Brandon. That is pretty cool. I did not know that. Jet and Drew are best friends. I was watching Gilbert's Twitch streams because they would stream for this during the off season, I guess he's saying. That's pretty cool to see.
I mean,
Shout out
Clifford.
Metcast and Dan from Mets Knicks all day.
Yes, sir.
Sands here. Sands always checking in. Agree on Gilbert in center field. Here we go. This one's for Dan. What about the closer role? And I'm assuming he means the future because Diaz is not, Diaz is going to be the closer. They're paying him way too much money. He's not going to be.
Yeah, I guess you think long term.
Maybe the guy you were talking about.
You get Ramon Gomez. That could be like a 2028, 2029 thing between all us here at Metcast. But I think Diaz is the long term answer. Even with the opt out, you're not going to find very many better closers in the game of baseball. Look at Devin Williams. We thought it was a shoe-in perfect fit. This guy's the best closer of our generation, at least the past 10 years with the Brewers. Everything he's done, most unhittable pitch in the sport, has now become hittable. And I don't know if that's a Pete Alonso thing, contributed to Devin Williams' downfall, but it speaks to the larger point that there's not many good closers in the game, or consistent ones there, be it that. So I think it would be a mistake to shortchange ourselves on what Edwin Diaz truly is. He's one of the best closers in this game, and I hope he retires a Met.
Yeah, and it's going to be up to him, right? Because it's his opt-out. Right.
Yeah.
Buzz says Kirby Puckett wasn't much taller, and he had no issues.
Yeah, but I mean, besides the great Kirby Puckett, how many are there going to be playing center field? There's not very many. I'm not saying you need a 6'3" guy out there in center, but I just don't like the idea, Ray. I don't know how you feel about it, but
yeah, I'm totally fine with the Gilberts. I just am.
Gilbert,
you know what it is?
sure.
If I didn't see and Williams, I don't know, because I'm not going to pretend that I sit here and watch him all the time. That's something that maybe I'll ask Ernest on the side.
Yeah,
his opinions on that, because he'll watch them a lot more than I do. But I want to get to one other prospect who a lot of Met fans are high on, but he be getting shellacked, and that is none other than your boy Brandon Sproat. Brandon Sproat this year, 1-3, 5.48 ERA over 23 innings, 17 strikeouts, and that whip of 1.43. Yay!
Oh, what is going on with Brandon Sproat?
When reality smacks you in the mouth, that's what we call that, Dan.
I don't know.
Honestly, what is your take?
It's not good. Let's start there. This is not good, but it's not detrimental. It's not the end of the world, because he's going to struggle, and you want to see these struggles happen in AAA. Vice President of Pitcher Development Andy Green of the New York Mets talked about it this offseason. They addressed it, talked about Sproat, his struggles. He had a 7.5 ERA down there last year. The shape of his fastball is what does him in. It's a great lively fastball.
It doesn't move.
It doesn't move.
It's a dart. You can't throw a dart.
And he's going to get burned in the big leagues. I don't know how else to fix that, but he has to figure it out at AAA.
Different grip, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe some guys, and it's something that it's interesting we're talking about this, because Clay Holmes this offseason, remember he said he always tried to flirt with a changeup, but for some reason, when he naturally threw the ball, it had a little cut on it. So he threw a straight change. It just didn't work. But that V change changed everything. Some guys, like Mariano Rivera, he didn't try to throw a cutter. He just threw a fastball, and it naturally had that inward cut on it, because how he would snap his wrist on the ball. He's got to find something, look, maybe you're not throwing 100 miles an hour every pitch, but it's a two-seamer that has a tiny bit of movement. That's the difference between single A and double A and triple A, because triple A, you're playing guys who are in their late 20s and their 30s, and a lot of them have been there forever. Look at guys like Brett Beatty, who lighted up in AAA. Those are borderline major leaguers. It's a completely different atmosphere. And let's also call a spade here. The ball flies in Syracuse. Everybody's got struggles down there, so you got to take that into a little bit of consideration. But he is having a brutal start, which is fine, and I'm totally fine with that. Maybe he takes a little bit longer to get up here, but I will say this, Dan, like you said, I didn't want him coming here and having a 6 ERA.
Yeah.
Fans would be all over him. New York will chew you up and spit you out, especially as we're in a tight-knit playoff race. Dare I say, I know it's early, but the standings are the standings,
Yeah, I have two conflicting thoughts that are running through my mind. It's like I'm seeing Tidwell, and we're going to see him tomorrow. That's going to be great. And the fact that he's being called up in the beginning of May is really impressive. But I don't know what to make of that regarding Sproat, because I like building up some hype, as I've talked to you about any of these prospects, especially your number one overall prospect for the consensus of the league. Looking at the Mets, you want to have some hype with your number one guy. But I don't know if that means he could be a September call-up. I think that speaks to any of these guys, Gilbert, Williams, Mauricio, even to an extent. The Mets are winning, and they're playing damn good baseball, that I don't think they need to really rush any of these guys. So I'm thinking about that. The Mets are winning. Do they wait on Sproat? But then I think at the same time, they called Tidwell up. We're going to see how he does. Sproat could be called up in July. I mean, I have no idea, but he has to figure it out at AAA first, because you're right. If he struggles at the Big Apple, he's going to get a lot of big
let's be
boos.
honest, Dan.
Yeah.
Now, Manaya's finally throwing at Citi Field. Montas going to be coming back. If Sproat was ever going to get called up, it probably would have been within the next 2 weeks, which is not happening, because let's be honest, the Mets have bypassed him every chance they've had. They bring up Blade Tidwell. They bring up the Waddle guy. They bring up the, whoever else they've brought up over the They choose not to bring him up. Right. And now you're going to have Manaea coming back. You'll have Montas back eventually. So outside of another injury, he's kind of going to be stuck down there, which kind of stinks. But like what you said, maybe he turns into one of those guys at the end of the year you throw into the pen, and he turns into a gem. And speaking of the pen, Dan, I seen the news right as before we got on. Daniil Nunez will be back with the Major League Club. So the Mets are going to be even though he struggled down in the minors a little bit, they're going to be getting back one of their most pivotal and vital players last year. And there's no sense about it. He was right there. And hopefully, with the New York juice and the late inning juice, maybe he steps into that 8th inning role. So when Diaz is not available, we're not throwing Ryan Stanek out there, because I think that experiment has got to be done with. I like Ryan Stanek. I think he could serve a purpose as a veteran. He's got that leadership. I think that he's okay in the 6th and 7th inning. But having him close out games, I think, Dan, it's run its course. Maybe you think different. Let me know.
Yeah, it could be. I still am holding out hope with a guy like Stanek. But I hear you. You get a guy like Nunez in here, it's completely different. This is a guy last year who pitched some big innings for the New York Mets, and he pitched very well in those innings. A 2.31 ERA, 35 innings pitched. He was unbelievable. 48 strikeouts, a FIP of 2.22. So everything checks out. The one thing, and I have to caution Mets fans, and I heard this on the great Rico Bronya podcast. The one podcast in Mets space is better than ours. Shout out Evan Roberts. But
I agree, and I only say that because Evan's been on my show.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, I would kill. No, I'm just kidding.
But
Evan's a great dude, and he's a Brooklyn Nets fan. Go Brooklyn!
All three of you guys out there in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
but,
all right, shut up. Maybe. How about that, Dan? There's a chance the Mets Yankees are playing when the Knicks are playing. Who the
Game 6
frick makes these schedules?
Game 1 of the Subway Series. So you're gonna have to split screen for that one.
We'll be doing a live, and Dan will be screaming in the background.
I got 2 screens going, but
that's it.
So
I put it on the handy dandy iPad. That's where I watch my games, right here with you guys.
But it is something to think about. Yeah, but I don't know. I just think about, I don't know. It's so tricky. It really, really is. Because Nunez is a guy, back to you can't pitch him on back-to-back days for whatever reason. And I could do the deep dive in the stats, but his game logs, when they try to pitch him back-to-back days, it's really, really bad. Versus when they give him a day or two of rest.
Right.
It's
some guys are like that.
Day. Some guys are like that. So Nunez is a guy I just wanted to caution people with. He's not going to be able to pitch multiple times a week, most likely, but it's fine. It might take the place of a guy like Stanek in the back end.
So we got a bunch of comments I want to get to. I've been trying to flag them, guys. Appreciate the interaction. I love this. This is one of my favorite shows we've done in a while. And look, we've had thousands of people live here, but this is honestly probably my favorite show that I've done in a while. Brandon says, "Can we get Cohen on the show?" And as you guys know, I'm very transparent here. I spoke to Steve Cohen. They're not looking to do anything right now in season, but I still am holding hopes in the off season. My boy Stevie C will come on the show.
Hire me.
But I'm just glad he got back to me. So
kidding.
We'll see. Hopefully he comes on the show down the line. But I don't press my luck. I talk to him every once in a while, and I don't want to annoy him because those kinds of fans, everybody's got them. But Steve, I'm just blessed that he follows us and is more than willing to interact with us. Bring up baby METS 2.0 already from Elvin. Look, we could be. Does Soto still qualify as a baby Met? Dan, he's 20.
Yeah, right. Old. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, think about this. Ready? Think about this. At the end of this season, as the season's coming to a close, Brandon Sproat and Juan Soto are 1 year difference. I mean, Drew Gilbert and Juan Soto are 2 years difference. That's it. It's not like, that's a lot of guys come up when they're in their mid-20s. It's just interesting to see. Maybe Soto still qualifies as a baby Met. But we got this from San. Yes, Beige 2. Mets have some good-looking prospects. Curious to see who stays. And that is the ultimate question. Dan, let me ask you this. Out of all the top prospects, if we were to list the top 10 right now, which, hold on, let me pull up really quick. So I had my other segment pulled up. And we'll just go off of MLB pipeline because there's a million people who rank prospects. But right now, and this is going to change. Mark my words, it's going to change shortly as they update. Brandon Sproat, Jet Williams, Carson Beige, Ryan Clifford, Nolan McLean, Jonah Tung, Jesus Baez, Ilian Pena, who's I don't even think is he in rookie ball yet? He's got to be.
Yeah.
Ronnie Mauricio and Drew Gilbert. That right there rounds out your top 10. Anybody who you could see, like, yeah, he most likely they'll be traded. I don't see Ilian Pena or Jesus Baez. They're both, practically teenagers.
I'd venture to say Jonah Tung potentially, just because there's value there. Really good swing and miss, really good head on his shoulders too. Like, I think there's anytime you're talking about a Sandy or any big name pitcher that you want to bring in, which I agree that the Mets need to do. Tong is one of the first guys. Tidwell's one of the first guys. Sproat, they're going to ask about at least. So, yeah, I think out of any of those, probably Tong.
You know what's funny? What you said? What you said something that just made me think. One of the players we were screaming for this all season, at least I was. Now I feel foolish, but that's why I'm a podcaster and not the GM. Dylan Cease, Dan. 33 and 2/3 innings. His ERA 5.61. Holy hell, is he costing himself a monster contract? Oh my gosh. His ERA is closer to 10 than 0. Think about that. That is crazy. Almost a 6 ERA. That's 4 runs every 5 innings. He's been atrocious this year. But I can get to a couple more of your comments. I want to get to one thing that happened tonight. We got to address it. We may not like them, but I guess you kind of have to respect them. Here comes Philly, Dan. They won over Arizona. And here are our updated standings, Dan, as I pull them up for us right here. The lead is down to 3. But I will say this: looks like the Braves are kind of cooling off a tiny bit.
It's ticking down.
But the lead's down to 3. You better keep winning.
Mets
That's
fans are the
why.
best, man.
Say it again.
Mets fans are the best. We're sitting here looking at the standings on.
I'm always
May
standing
3rd.
hunting.
No, I
How
know,
can
I
you
know
not
you are.
be?
But yeah, I love it. I love it.
But you know what? Look, we always. Oh, that's why when you hear people make the argument, well, it's still Ray. It's still early. Relax. F that.
I hear you.
We lost the division by 1 game 2 years ago. This division's gonna come down probably within 4 games. Is that reasonable? Within 4
Definitely.
games?
Definitely.
Every game matters.
No,
That's why
I hear
you
you.
can't have throwaway games. That's why they're not giving Soto and Lindor days off. That's why Acuna is playing practically every single day and Vientos is playing every day, because the Mets are well aware what these games mean, every single one. And now, with us playing in our division less than ever before, as we play 13 times a year now instead of 18. Think about that. Between us and the Braves, that's 10 less games against each other. That's a lot.
No, you're right.
But those are our updated standings as we continue to get to some of your guys' comments. You have any comments to say, Dan?
I think one thing quick, we played the Phillies, not the Nationals and the Marlins to end the year. We play 2 National League teams that aren't good, so I assume those are the 2. But yeah, so those are going to be games that we must win. Should be easy games down the stretch to win.
Oh, God damn you, Dan.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
But that was just clipped.
Knock on wood. But, it's going to be easier than Toronto and Atlanta and the Brewers down the stretch. So who knows? Knock on wood, though.
Yes, absolutely. But and as we're getting to our next segment, I want to. Here we go. We'll take a little peek at what is to come. Break that down a little bit, because guys, it's not easy. You have, if I remember correctly, as I was doing my deep dive, we have 2 games that are probably winnable, like 2 series where you're like, yeah, we're a lot. We should take care of business there. But Dan, take a peek at this. You have the Cardinals tomorrow for 2. Then you're off to Arizona. And we all know they're a solid club. The Cubs keep winning and winning and winning. They won again today. So you're home for 3 against them. You got the Lonely Pirates. That should be a minimum 2 out of 3. But then you're in the Bronx for 3. Then you're in Boston for 3. Then you're home for the Dodgers before you get to the crappy White Sox, Rockies, and before you head back out to LA for 4. And then you have the Washington and Colorado, who suck. But if we're being honest, these next series, you got probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 out of 7 teams you're facing should be playoff teams, and most of them are going to win their division. Outside of Arizona, the Yankees are expected to win. Maybe Boston will be there. The Dodgers are expected to win. We have a lot of tough baseball that's right in front of us right now. And with the Phillies surging, remember, the Braves started out in LA, in San Diego, and now they're within 7 games after starting out 0-10 because they got their asses kicked by those teams. That's, we got a really tough lineup coming up.
And about time. I mean, how much do we have to hear on X from people outside of, I know the world doesn't revolve on X, but you hear people hating on the Mets saying, we have an easy schedule, you're the best team, but you're really not the best team. All right, well, this will define the New York Mets, how they do over these next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as you accurately outlined, and let's get it done. If they beat these teams, and the first test will really be the Cardinals we already swept in a 4-game series. Like, whatever. We'll see what happens. But
I want to take 2 tomorrow.
Sure. And as do I.
You lose both. All of a sudden, Philly's a game and a half out.
150%. But then you got to play the D-backs, who you lost a series to. So now we'll really see what the Mets are made of very quickly.
Yep. Totally agree. Jose says, who the hell cares about height as long as he covers lots of ground in the outfield and has a pretty good arm?
Look at Jalen Brunson, right? It doesn't matter about the height.
Hard over Celtics.
Hard
Sam
over.
says, how you guys feeling about left-handed pitcher Felipe de la Cruz? That's for you, Dan.
Very, very excited. And today he pitched very well. He lit it up in his AAA debut. And that's not easy, number one. But 6 innings, no runs, no walks. The stuff looked great. 9 strikeouts, 70 pitches, nice, clean, easy outing. And he's a lefty. So something that the Mets lack at this moment, but also long term. I mean, David Peterson's going to be hitting free agency in a couple years' time, not this year, next year. There's going to be questions that need to be had. Jonathan Santucci coming up the pike. Now Felipe de la Cruz is another one that we can look at and maybe say, all right.
How old is he?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Let's you give me 5, 4, 3, 2. He's 23.
Okay.
Yep.
So another guy that's on the cusp.
You know what's
funny? As Mets fans, we all know, we all lived through the Omar Minaya days, the dare I say, Sandy Alderson days. It always felt like our top prospects were 18 and 19, and then we never heard from them again. I'm loving that all these guys are in their early 20s who are knocking on the door. Like 24 is like, you should be in the majors. That's it. That's probably why Brandon Sproat will probably be up this year because of that. Bruce says, we have great speed and strong arms on young men. No more trading for a pig in a poke at exorbitant money. So he's pretty much saying, I'm guessing he wouldn't want to trade for Sandy, who, let's be honest, Sandy's not having a good season. He's not.
He's not.
Let me look. Let's pull up his stats really quick. Sandy Alcantara. Holy dude. 26 innings. Take a guess at his ERA, Dan.
4.7.
8.3.
I tried to be generous. Jeez. That's
20, ready? 26 innings. 24 earned runs. Holy cow.
Oh my God.
17 walks and 19 strikeouts. That is atrocious.
That's bad. No,
that's all got to be from I got to look at his game logs now. I got to assume he had one game where he just got absolutely shellacked.
We got rough. What was it? The Pirates game? He had one in there, maybe. I don't know. Was it?
If you're getting shelled by the Pirates, I don't want you.
I don't know if it, one of some of the. That's the thing. No pitchers in.
All right, so here we go. Oh.
Jeez.
Gosh. All right, well, that sells that. Hold on to your prospects, folks. Ready? So here's his game log. He's pitched 5 games against the Mets. 5 innings, 2 earned runs. That's an okay start. You would like better. Against Washington, 5 2/3, 4 runs. That's an awful start. Ready? Here's where you get it. And this is what would concern me the most about trading for him, if we're being real. Against Philly, 2 innings pitched, 6 runs, 2 walks.
It was Philly, right?
Philly. Against Cincinnati, Cincinnati's an okay team. 6 innings pitched, 3 runs. For a guy who's supposed to be an ace, that's not good. That's average for an average guy. And then against LA, so his last 3 starts, 2 2/3, 7 earned runs, 5 walks in 2 2/3. So his last 3 games, you have 6, 7, 8, 10 2/3, 16 earned runs. He's given up 3 home runs in 3 games and 9 walks. What's even more concerning to me, in 3 games, so 10 2/3, he's got 7 strikeouts. That is the definition of god awful.
It's bad. Makes you.
The Mets may have dodged a bullet, and I understand he's coming off Tommy John, but this is year 2.
Right.
They were talking about holding him on innings limits this year to get some crazy return, Dan.
Think they might not trade him this year.
Well, would it make sense now? I mean, look, all of a sudden in the month of it's April. So, I mean, we have a while to get to that deadline. But let's get to some more of these comments, unless you have another comment, Dan.
No, it's just it makes you question, are the Mets going to make that trade or the Marlins going to make that trade? And if it's not Sandy, who the next big pitcher is that they should go and target.
Yeah, that's why the whole debate between David Stern saying, I'm not paying these pitchers in their 30s. Well, if you want a Corbin Burns, that's what you got to do. If you want a Max Fried, who's one of the best pitchers I've ever seen right now, who left the Braves, that's what you have to do, because these guys are simply just not growing on trees. We have this from, I'm not going to Taranita. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Don't sell short on Mauricio. The guy won a league MVP in a tough league to play in, and he's still young. He's big with range and 5 tools. I've always loved Mauricio, and I like Mauricio because when he swings the bat and he makes contact, it sounds different. Like, you ever notice when Juan Soto hits those 112-mile-an-hour fastballs, or coming off his bat, it sounds different. Some guys, it sounds different. He's one of those guys.
He's the real deal. He is the real deal. And the Mets have a really good problem on their hands. What do you do with them? Where do you put them?
Right.
So
kind of like where you're at with that. Jose says Pete will not be signed to a long-term contract unless Cohen does the signing. Stearns is allergic to long-term contracts. I 100% disagree with you, my man. Stearns is running the show. I'm telling you right now, from people that I know in the organization, Steve Cohen does not get. If Stearns would have turned around and said, I don't want Juan Soto would not be a New York Met. For anybody who thinks that David Stearns doesn't sign off on literally every little thing, Steve Cohen, let's not forget, when he bought the team, Dan, what's the first thing he said? I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know everything. I'm going to hire people, pay them good money, because I'm going to trust them what they do. Steve Cohen made David Stearns the highest paid executive in all of baseball. He's not going to sit there and tell him how to do his job. That's simply not true. I understand the perception, but let's be honest. Who won this last offseason? Pete Alonso or David Stearns? David Stearns knew there was no market for Alonso. There just wasn't. Otherwise, somebody would have signed him. I don't believe Toronto offered him 3 years. I just don't. Or 4 years. I just don't. Players so rarely leave any money on the table. And I think David Stearns knew, I'm not going to bid against myself. So, Scott Boras, call me when you're ready to talk. Let me know if you think any different.
I think you're spot on. I do.
No, look, I'm not going to say I know Steve Cohen like he's a friend. I know him, and I know a lot of people in the organization. There's no shot. David Stearns knows literally everything that happens in that place. All right, let's see what we got. Always Froza. Only top 3 in lineup are untouchable. Some may not have trade value, but all can be packaged this summer. So you're saying, obviously, Alonso, Soto, Lindor. I don't think Brandon Nimmo really has that much value, to be honest with you. That contract people aren't going to like. If he didn't have the plantar fasciitis, it'd be a different story, but that ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm the wrong person to talk about Brandon Nimmo because I believe in Brandon Nimmo.
And, I do too. But he's got 6 years left on that deal.
But it's always that same punch. It's not even you. You hear it in the spaces every single day. If you listen to my spaces, give me a follow, Dan Bartels 2 on X. But Brandon Nimmo, planters, injuries, problems. And I don't know what more this guy has to do. He's played 150 games his past 3 seasons, and he's probably going to make it 4 straight, if we're being honest.
I'm with you. What I'm saying is other teams are not going to trade significant prospects.
But you don't have to. That's the beauty. Back to what we were talking about before. The Mets can pay down any of these salaries, make it a lot easier.
Very much true. I was taking it from a different perspective. Who's got a lot more value? I wouldn't trade Vientos. Obviously, like you said, no one's untouchable. Lindor's untouchable. Soto's untouchable. Outside of that, that's where I'm at.
Would you trade Alvarez really quick? Sorry.
For the right player, yeah. I love Alvarez, but I also am not naive. It's been a while. He's also, it was it's not a good injury he had. He's obviously back now, but you know what? It would have to be a real significant haul. Like let me ask you this, Dan. Prior to this season, if someone were to say, you know what? Miami loves Alvarez, straight up for Alcantara. You are driving him to JFK like the rest of us. Because we want to, at the end of the day, we love these guys, but what's more important than winning? Shouldn't be anything. And that's one thing David Stearns taught us this offseason. If anything, take our emotions out of it. How many guys were on your space, Dan, saying, F Steve Cohen, F this guy, F that guy, give him 7 years. He's a New York Met for life. Give him 5 years, $195 million. What are you doing? Just pay the guy. And David Stern said, whoa, guys, let me run it. I'm hired to do a job. I don't do my job with emotions. Let me do what I'm supposed to do. And we should have all learned a lesson this past year. That's what I take away from that. I don't think anybody's untouchable outside of Juan Soto, because let's be honest, Juan Soto's primarily untouchable because nobody would touch that contract.
Not paying down that contract, right?
But that's pretty much it. Lindor should be a captain. I wouldn't trade Pete, obviously. The only situation I would trade Pete is if we were like 10 games out at the deadline. Then you have to. It'd be malpractice if you didn't. But I wouldn't want to trade Alvarez. I don't want you to think I'm saying that. But if somebody came to me, if the White Sox last offseason said, hey, we have this guy, you might have heard of him, his last name's Crochet, and we really love Alvarez. So we'll take Jonathan and Alvarez as the main pieces and a couple smaller guys because we want Alvarez to be a captain like towards our team. Are you pulling the plug?
Probably.
At least you're being honest. But I love Alvarez. I don't want to trade him. I love the fire he brings. I just wish, and let's be honest, Dan, and this is why I love our booth, and I'm shout out to Gary, Keith, and Ron like they need a shout out. I love how Keith Hernandez breaks down some of these at-bats. He goes, it's funny. We talked to Francisco Lindor in the offseason, and he said he's really going to start cutting down with 2 at-bats. And the next pitch, he swings for the absolute fences with 2 strikes, and he goes, well, we didn't see it there. I feel like somebody's got to get a hold of Alvarez and change his approach. He swings for the downs and when he was a rookie, he did that, but he got away with it because there wasn't a book out on him. Now there's a book. Slider down and away because he's trying to yoke it out to left center. That's my opinion. I'm no hitting coach, but
no, I hear you.
So we have this from Frankie V. Nolan McLean has nasty stuff. Want to see him on the Mets pitching staff. I think a lot of us do. Well, who knows, Dan? Maybe, just maybe, David Stearns turns into the GM where we're not forced to go out and trade for a Dylan Cease, trade for a Michael King, trade for an Alcantara, go sign, Max Fried, who looks like a good contract now, but call me in 8 years. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you actually start developing your own pitching for once. Christian Scott was pretty damn good. It's so unfortunate he's missing this year, but next year he's going to be on this team.
Definitely.
I knew this was going to come up, Dan. This is from Jose. Wouldn't be talking about who will play center field if Pete Crow Armstrong had not been traded. A jackass trade from Jose.
Third in National League in F4 right now. He's a great player, and it's unfortunate the Mets traded him away. But you got to live and learn. And it's another reminder. History repeats itself. There's going to be another tough trade like this. There just is. Whether it's Jet Williams, Drew Gilbert, Ryan Clifford, all the household names, one of them's going to have to be traded, and it's going to suck seeing them develop on another team.
Or more than one.
More than exactly. So,
I mean, let's be honest. If Acuna runs away with the second base position, and dare I say Gilbert comes up here and lights it up, where's Jet Williams playing? Where's Ryan Clifford playing?
Right.
Where are any of these guys playing?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
That's how you look at it. We'll take a few more. We've been live for over an hour now. That was a quick hour, in my opinion.
It was. No, definitely.
So I'll let you take this, Dan, because you're more versed on it. Always says left-hander De La Cruz promoted to AAA. What do you know about him?
Again, you know, it's a guy that brings a lot of energy to this team. A guy that, you know, anytime the Mets are throwing lefties out there, it's a good thing because they value lefties in their system. And I don't know too many specifics on De La Cruz. I'm going to be completely honest, but I know that he commands the zone and he has good swing and miss stuff. And to an extent, he limits walks. He still needs to get a little bit better. But overall, I mean, he can be where the Mets need him to be. Maybe like a little bit harder throwing Quintana, who just takes the ball and is a reliable arm in the future. But it's so far ahead for a lot of these guys just to see. I mean, even De La Cruz, he might get a start this year. You know, maybe he gets called up. But at the end of the day, is he going to be in the rotation for multiple starts? Probably not. The Mets have shown that they're very up and down with their nature, and that's fine. That's a winning formula because you want to know at the end of the season whoever you're putting out there is the best arm for your team. But, you know, I think De La Cruz has a lot of potential. I do.
Yeah, I think a lot of them do. And you know what's cool about it, Dan? I've noticed I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's my fandom taking over. You can let me know. I feel like a lot of prospects took significant jumps this offseason, and maybe it's because of the pitching lab and working with Jeremy Hefner prior to this season. I mean, think about it. Nolan McLean was not dominant like he was like last year. Jonah Tung came out of nowhere. The guy picked up 3 miles an hour on his fastball and now is an easy top 10 prospect in our system. You're starting to see the De La Cruzes. You're seeing the other guy throwing 104 miles an hour. There's a lot of prospects coming through the system. Yes, Brandon Sproat is struggling, but that's more for me. That's a pitch mix issue. He's got to learn to throw a different pitch, in my opinion. But watching some of these guys who weren't necessarily crazy on the radar, dominating in the lower levels, I credit a lot of the pitching lab. You know, it's just Griffin Canning coming along. Griffin Canning was out of baseball last year. He got cut. Nobody picked him up. But Davis Stern said, I see something in him. I'm going to do X, Y, Z, put him in my lab.
That's it. You got to trust the lab.
Stanley Tidwell starting tomorrow. You know what, Dan? Give us your lowdown on Blade Tidwell.
This guy had 9 pitches, and he cut it down to about 5. So the stuff is electric. Again, aforementioned Tennessee kid pitched out of the bullpen, and I think there is a role in the future in the Mets with a bullpen piece like we're looking at with Kranick. But right now he's a starter. He has 279 innings pitched in the minor leagues versus Brandon Sproat's 149. Rough numbers there, but so a good amount of innings pitched as well in the minor leagues. So he's seasoned. He's ready to go. And I'm excited to watch him pitch tomorrow. We saw him in spring training a little bit, but this is for real, and he is for real. So I hope he sticks.
I just hope tomorrow, and you know what, I'm glad he's starting on the road, because I feel like a lot of guys who come to Citi Field right away, look at Juan Soto. I'm not sure if that's what it was, but they get jacked. The crowds are electric, and I don't want him throwing 100 miles an hour and can't throw a strike. And sometimes when you overthrow, Dan, as we've seen in the past, your stuff straightens out. Diddy, what's going on, my guy? Yes, you are late to the partay. We were having a Marte partay earlier. You can go back and check it out. Absolutely, my friend. Good to hear from you. I know you're one of the OGs in here. Keep going young, Michael says. Get to a couple more before we wrap up. And tomorrow, what time's the second game, Dan?
12:15 and then 6:15.
Okay.
Or
So maybe
1:15,
maybe we'll
6:15.
do a post game. I probably won't be available in between, but
Sure.
Guys, what we're planning on doing, we've been doing a lot of the lives throughout the games, and let's just say my wife's not the biggest of fans, because when she texts me and I don't answer for 4 hours because I'm doing a live, because I love hanging out with you guys. So I think what Dan and I might end up doing is opening more towards the end of games now, like the Flushing finale, maybe at the bottom of the eighth, top of the eighth, and then we'll transition into a post game from there. That's kind of the plan. But I know I didn't get to all your guys' comments today. We're going just about an hour and a half long. I'm exhausted. A lot of yard work today. I'm so pumped for tomorrow. Make sure, if you're not following Dan, give Dan a follow over on X and on Instagram. Dan, what is it? _Bartels2 on Instagram.
Dan Bartels 2. Yeah, thank you, Ray.
And obviously, we're on all the major platforms as well. You can see below. But thanks so much for sticking around. I noticed we had over 600 people in here tonight on this beautiful Saturday night. Let's go get 2 dubs tomorrow. Kick some Philly. Yes, we got a tough schedule coming up. See you guys in the post game tomorrow.
Go Mets.
As always, Dan.
Let's
go
Mets.
Peace, everybody.